Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to all of you here. Welcome to those of you who are on any of our campuses, and if you happen to be watching online from anywhere in the city, state, country, world, wherever you are, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is wonderful to get to go to church with people who desire to be together, to desire to worship God, and not who do so from a sense of duty. As he said, it's not checking the box, it's the kind of the intention of our heart is we want to be together, we want to be in God's presence. So welcome to each and every one of you. Hey, before I get going, I want to remind you of something I've told you about in the last couple of weeks, and I want to put it back kind of the front of your thinking, and that is that this coming Saturday, we as a church are going to engage in this thing we call mobilize. As a church, we talk about this wonderful concept of loving beyond, which means you go out of your way to love. You don't just love what's easy, you make some effort. And one of the ways that we do that as a church is this thing called Mobilize, where we literally go out to the community. We go out and we serve single parents. We go out and we serve the unhoused. We go out and serve schools. We go out and serve ministries. We go out and make a difference this coming Saturday morning. And on all of your campuses, there are different projects, different exact details. So get online, sign up, be a part of this, and you'll be surprised what giving yourself away does for you, as it also does a ton for others. So want to get that on your thinking. Okay, so we're going to finish today the series we started about 6 weeks ago. It's called Joyride, and there's a subtitle to Joyride that we've used. It's called Searching for Joy. And I want to just draw your attention to those words, searching for joy. I want to suggest something to each and every one of us. That's exactly what we've been doing all of our lives. You might not have put it in those words, you might not have said it that way, but the reality is that there's something that we want to try to find, and we spend our life searching for it, and it's joy, a deep, abiding sense of it's good, and that life is worth living. Now, here's what I've learned over the years working with people. A lot of us are running around with an inner emptiness, an inner void. There's a vacuum, there's something missing. And when you start thinking about it, you start to realize that a whole lot of the things you do, some of your behaviors, some of your motives, some of your drives, some of your attitudes are literally derived from trying to fill the emptiness. And you're out there, you're looking and you're searching and you're trying your hardest to find it. But deep down inside, what we all want is to find that inner sense of it's going to be okay. So our text today, and by the way, we're going to be in Philippians chapter 4, if you want to open up your Bible and get ready for that. But our text today is going to reveal something. It all builds to this. All of these messages build to this, okay? And what it builds to is Paul's going to tell you the secret. What do you mean? He's going to tell you the secret. He's going to tell you the secret to how you fill the vacuum and you have joy in your life. And I'm going to show it to you. In fact, he's going to use the word secret. So when you see it, get ready, okay? Because the truth is you're going to get let in on a secret. Don't you like it when somebody goes, hey, can I tell you a secret? Yeah, tell me a secret. You're going to get told the secret. In fact, you're going to get told 2 secrets today. Okay, wait for it, but you're going to be told. Now, before we get there, we got to do something, okay? We got to, I want to ask you I want to get you thinking, all right? Now, where these questions in my mind come from, or whenever I look at a passage, I sit there and as I'm preparing, I'm just thinking, I'm going what does this make me think about? And so I'm going to fire some questions. You don't need to answer these out loud, please don't. These are just questions to ponder, questions to think about, okay? And I'm going to fire them at you, and then just be as honest with yourself as you can be, all right? So here we go. Question number 1. What is it that you've always wanted to accomplish but haven't yet achieved? It's not a bucket list item. I want to do something in that sense. This is what I want to accomplish. I want to get this done, but I haven't done it yet. What is it? Here's the second question. What do you find yourself daydreaming about possessing or attaining? These questions overlap. What is it when gosh, one day, that would be awesome. Third question, what is it that you're trying to align your finances to manage your money in such a way so you can acquire it? They overlap. Now, what I just did is I just used 3 words very specifically in those sentences. There's 3 things that the world we live in tells us will fill the void. that tells us will fulfill us. Those three things, it's telling, if you get these things, you're going to have a sense of joy. And did you catch the words? Word number one was achieve. Achieve. Number two, attain. And number three, acquire. So we're out trying to achieve, attain, and acquire. And then it brings another word that I want to add that's behind all of those things. And it's not necessarily a bad word, but I want to talk about it. It's the word ambition. Ambition is not a bad thing. I'm not going to say it is. It's not. Ambition is a good thing. I think it's a gift from God. Ambition is what causes somebody to be hungry in the sense of getting something done. Ambition is what drives you to accomplish. Ambition is gets you moving. Ambition is not bad. Ambition is not bad. But I want to ask a question. When is enough ambition enough? This is what we never talk about. When is ambition like too much? Now, let me say it to you this way, okay? Well, you know when somebody has no ambition. You have no respect for anyone who has no ambition. No one. They are lazy. They're unmotivated. You don't respect somebody who goes, they're just lazy. You don't, you know. But what is on the other side? Okay, we got that side. We understand that side. What do you do with somebody who's got like tons of ambition? Well, it depends what you're ambitious for, but you could say of some people they're greedy. They never have enough money. They're greedy. Or that you could say they're driven. Or you could say they're obsessed. And I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't have any ambition. I just want to ask a more difficult question, and that's this question. When does it become harmful? When do our desires become detrimental, destructive, harmful to your soul? When do my desires actually start to hurt me? When does my ambition become excessive? Now, we don't ever think about it, but I want us to think about that, all right? Now, when we're talking about ambition, there's a couple of things that I feel like we have to talk about, because if we don't talk about these things, then I don't feel like we're going to understand it. So there's two things that I think kind of play into this. Number one is the issue of comparison. And our social media-driven world has just intensified this. You understand that we know what's happening in each other's lives more than any generation ever in the history of mankind has been able to know. So guess what? We're aware of everything that anyone wants to tell us about their life. So they're vacationing in, and then you see it, and you go, I'm not. They accomplished this. I didn't. They've acquired this. They got a brand new house. You see their house? You see the house? Did you see the house? We post these things. We cultivate the best image, curate the news, so we project out and what happens is you're looking at your ordinary life and their life, and you're like going, man. I'm going to tell you something, and this is really, really important, and it's not original with me by any means, but I want to make sure you understand this. Comparison is the thief of joy. It will steal your joy. Because no matter how much you have, somebody has more. No matter what you've done, somebody's done more. No matter what. Comparison is the thief of joy. So let's just talk about that. That's a problem, comparison. But the opposite end is disappointment. Disappointment. What do you mean? Well, let's just say you were driven to get your dream job. Man, I got to get this job. And you got it. And then you discovered that to succeed at that job, you have to work insane hours at the cost of your family. And the culture of that workplace is toxic. You didn't know that. Or what about that relationship? You want so badly to get into that relationship. You get into that relationship, and then you discover that person is not who or what I thought they were. And now you're like, what now? What do I do with this? Probably has not happened to anyone here, but let's just, people fantasize about winning the lottery. Okay, let's just pretend like you won the lottery. All my problems would be solved if I just won the lottery. Except you discover in people that it doesn't solve the problem, because coming into a bunch of money that you've never had creates a complexity to your life you've never had to deal with, and the attention of people who now know you have resources, and they want them. How am I going to cope? You buy an item, and you're like, if I could just get this luxury car, or this handbag, or this new technology, man, everything would be. So good if I could just, and then you buy it and you get it and you pretty soon find that it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. And it's a common experience for all of us. It lasted for a little while. It was good for a little while, but now it's so ordinary. You see, what we do is we suffer from this thing called the greener grass syndrome, which, again, I don't need to explain this. You understand, the grass is always greener on the other side. So in our mind, we start going, well, if I could only, then, it's greener grass syndrome. If I could just then, if then, and we just live with that. And we think that something is on the other side of the fence that acquiring, achieving, attaining would then fix everything, but it doesn't. I'm reminded of a group of people that were touring a psychiatric hospital. It was a teaching hospital, and a tour kind of went through the halls, and there was a guide in the tour group, and then the people that were, they literally refer to them as cells, but they're rooms, but to keep them safe, they pad the walls. And this is not a joke, it's just the reality of their psychiatric hospitals. Got to keep people safe. Well, the tour comes by and they look in one room, and there's a guy pounding his head on the wall. He's just pounding his head on the wall. And he's saying something, and they're listening. And he said, "Linda, how could you do it? Linda, how could you do it?" And everybody turns to the guide going, "What is going on here?" And the guide goes, "Well, here's what happened to this guy. He had a woman he was pursuing. Her name was Linda. And she wanted nothing to do with him. So she just dumped him. And he went off into the ozone. He's been like this ever since." And it was, oh gosh, that's so hard. They go down the hall a little bit further. There's another guy, another room, another cell, another padded wall, another bing his head on the wall. And he's also saying something. He's saying, "Why me, Linda? Why me?" And the guy, look at it, oh, he's the guy that married Linda. Do you remember Garth Brooks' song, "Thank God for Unanswered"? You know what would happen to you if you got all the things you'd asked for? You'd be destroyed. But we want what, so you can compare yourself and be very unhappy, or you can just achieve and be very unhappy. But these are the realities of it. Now, let's go to Philippians 4, and we're just going to look through one little section, verses 10 to 19. It is literally kind of the point that he's writing this letter to express, and I want to make sure you see it. I don't need to spend a lot of time because it's pretty self-explanatory, but I want to take it in some chunks as we normally do. Now, I just need to remind you that the book of Philippians is a thank you letter. That's what it is. Paul is in Rome at various times in prison or on house arrest. He is writing to the church in Philippi. He's writing to them because they were very, very helpful to him. And he is overwhelmed with joy in prison, writing to this church, telling them, it's all good, man. It's good. I'm good. And it's a bit of a conundrum. How can you be so joyful in such horrible circumstances? And as Sean told you a number of weeks ago, they had to raise their own support. If you're going to be in prison, the government's not going to take care of you. You take care of yourself, your family, your friends. And this church had helped him out immeasurably. So Philippians chapter 4, 10 to 19, that's where we're going to be. And again, I'm going to go quick. Start with verse 10. Paul said, "I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. Now, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. For I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret. There's the word. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want." Now listen, he's not saying I don't have any needs. He's saying I am not in need. There's a difference between having needs, of which we all have, but not all of us are in need. He says, I have needs, but I'm not in need. What? Yeah, what he's saying is I've learned something. I've learned how to have a lot, and I've learned how to have a little. I've learned how to find joy when there's plenty, and I know how to have joy when there's not much. In hungry, in plenty. In little, in a lot. I've learned the secret. Now, he says something next that I think is one of the most misquoted verses in the Bible. My guess is if you know the Bible at all, you've used this verse somewhere and you've probably not understood the context. It's Philippians 4:13. It's a beautiful verse. It goes like this: I can do all things through him who gives me strength. And that is a wonderful little mantra, and people use it. I'm going to summit Everest because I can do all things through him who gives me strength. I'm going to run a marathon because I can do all things. Now listen, if it inspires you to say that, that's awesome. That is not how he's saying it. What he's saying is no matter how far behind I am, I've learned to look at God, and I can get through it through him. That's what he's saying. I've learned I can do all things. However bad it is, in him, I can get through it. It's not acquiring and attaining and achieving. God's going to see me through. That's what he's saying. I've learned through him, I can get through anything. Let's keep going. Look at the next verses, 14 to 18. Yet it was good of you to share in my troubles. Moreover, as you Philippians know, in the early days of your acquaintance with me, or with the gospel, when I set out from Macedonia, not one church shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving, except you only. You're the only one. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid more than once when I was in need. Now, not that I desire your gifts. This is careful. Listen carefully. Not that I desire your gifts. What I desire is that more be credited to your account. Something happens in you when you're able to give. That's what he's saying. I appreciate what you gave. That's awesome. But what's more awesome is what it did in you when you stepped up. That's what he's saying. I have received full payment, have more than enough. I am amply supplied. Now that I have received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent, they are a fragrant offering, an acceptable sacrifice, pleasing to God. Thank you. More than once you've come through, big time. But the joy in this is not because you gave me something. The joy is just that you found the way to give. That is what I rejoice in. And then he says this, and I think this is one of the most underappreciated verses in the Bible, Philippians 4:19. If we believe this more, we would be different people. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. Hey, let me translate. Hey, whatever you sacrifice, you're going to be fine. You know how I know you're going to be fine? Because you cannot outgive God. You can't do it. And you discovered that because when you give, God replenishes. When you give, God blesses. And again, we're not going to take up an offering. But listen, understand this. There's something happens to you when you find yourself being generous. And he's just going, look, I've said it this way. This is my translation. God honors those who honor him. You put God first. You trust God more than your bank account, and God will bless you. I live that. I believe that. God will meet all of your needs. So go, okay. All right, you've done a lot of talking, preacher. What's the secret? Okay, I'm going to tell you the secret. Come here. No. Here's the secret. What's the secret? Contentment is the secret to joy. Wait, what? Yeah. Contentment is the secret to joy. You want to fill the emptiness? Contentment is the secret. But I told you there's not one. No, today and today only. We get two. We get two secrets. And this is the big idea. I want you to walk out of here understanding. Contentment is the secret to joy, and gratitude is the secret to contentment. Wait, what? Yeah, it's a double secret. Contentment is a secret to joy. Gratitude is the secret to contentment. Okay. Wow, that's really good to know. Here's the problem. Most of us didn't learn a thing just now. Most of us go, yeah, I know that. Most of us go, yeah, be content. That's a good thing. Contentment is a goofy thing in our life. All of us would say we're content. All of us would say, no, I have ambitions, but I'm content. No, I'm good. When truthfully, we don't really think about, are we really content? So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to fire 7 thoughts at you, and I'll wrap it up with that. They're going to go fast. I'm going to challenge 7 thoughts about contentment that I hope you'll just kind of ponder deeply, okay? Not just think about this. The first one is this. Contentment is a choice we must repeatedly make, not a destination to which we ultimately arrive. Here's the deal. You can decide to walk, I'm in here, I'm going to be content, and walk out of here, and an hour later be discontent. You can decide, I'm going to live my life, I'm going to be content. And the truth of the matter is tomorrow you won't be. It's a daily decision. It is literally a frame of mind. Contentment is not a destination. It's a decision, a choice. That's the first thing. Second thing, contentment means choosing to acknowledge that my natural desires will have no preset limit. I must put a limit on them. What does that mean? Folks, let me say something about me, and then let me say something about my wife. There are not enough fishing lures manufactured in the country to make me happy possessing. That's the truth. There are not enough shoes manufactured in the world to make my wife happy. Yes, Lisa, I know you're in here. I love you, baby. We all have our thing. We all have our thing. And here's the deal. Scripture tells you that's exactly the way it is. There's never going to be enough. Let me read to you a couple of scriptures. Ecclesiastes 1:8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. Never enough. Never enough. It says it this way in Proverbs 23:4. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. You're never going to get enough. If you don't decide enough is enough, you'll never see it in your life until you decide, I have enough. I have enough. Third one, contentment means choosing to be grateful for what I do have, not bitter about what I don't have, what I do not have. I'm going to be thankful for the things I do possess, of which we have more than most everybody we have more stuff, and we have more books on how to find happiness. Paul said it this way, 1 Timothy 6:7. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. Now those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, into many foolish and harmful desires, ambition, attain, acquire, achieve, that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, ambitious, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. So I'm going to be grateful for what I do have and not bitter about what I don't have. Fourth one, contentment means choosing to believe that God will indeed supply what I need, and this is going to be controversial, and if he hasn't given it to me, I probably really don't need it. Hang on, let that one soak in. See, our problem is I can turn my wants into needs in my mind very quickly. I have to have that. I absolutely have to have that. And God never said he's going to give you all your wants, all your desires will be fulfilled if you walk with Jesus. No, he'll take care of your needs. The problem is we think we need what we want. And it takes a sober thinking person to go, I really, truly want it. I don't need it. It reminds me of a guy that was staying overnight. He was on a kind of a spiritual quest to stay, and he wanted to stay at a monastery with the monks. That'd be pretty crazy. And so he decides, I'm going to go. So he packs his bag and he goes. And the abbot meets him, shows him to his little room, and he says, here's the schedule. And hey, this is where you're going to stay. And prayers are, since there's time, we'll see you then. But he's walking out. The abbot's walking out. He says, hey, if during your time here you discover that you forgot anything you need, come find me, and I'll show you how to live without it. Well, that's a twist. Because you know what? You don't need as many things as you want, nor do I. Next one. Contentment means choosing to understand that the desire for more and more will not bring any greater fulfillment than what I already have has given me. And that you got to think about that. It's been said this way, if I'm not satisfied with what I have, I'll be dissatisfied with what I want. Next one, contentment means I will be grateful for the presence of God in my life, something far more significant than any possession I could ever get my hands on. Because what we all have access to is God. And God is very clear in this. Hebrews 13:5, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. All your stuff can be taken from you, God can't. And the presence of God in your life should be the greatest source of joy over any possession you could ever get your hands on, any achievement you could ever, anything you could ever acquire. And the next one, the last one, this is literally a kind of a kick in the pants for all of us. And buckle up, because this one, it's a hard truth. This one's not going to make you feel good. But I'd be pulling punches if I didn't say what I really think needs to be said here. Contentment means choosing to be generous. I know all I have comes from God. Contentment means choosing to be generous. Here's the problem that we have. God is the source of all good things that he pours out on you, so you can become the resource of his good things to bless others. Think with me. God is the source so you can become the resource. He puts it in your hands so you can put it in other people's hands. Here's the problem. We don't want to put it in other people's hands. We want to take all the blessings of God and keep them for ourselves, which literally plugs the pipe that God goes, I can't move resources through him. She can't be trusted. So here's a shocking statement. And this is shocking. I get it, okay? Don't write to me. I understand. All right, seriously, don't take it up with me. If you're not generous, you're not content. You're just not. And why aren't you generous? Because you want more for yourself. I don't mean to offend you. I just mean to call it as it is. That's our problem. I want more. I want to say I'm content. If you are not a generous person giving of yourself, you're not content. Okay, if there's anyone left in the building, let me wrap up. Contentment is the secret to joy. Gratitude is the secret to contentment. I want to close with this story. I would say learning to be content is willing to change your perspective, to see things differently, to choose a different frame of mind. So the story is told about a very wealthy guy, a very wealthy father who had a son who he wanted to try to show his son how well off they were, to get them to understand, you are incredibly well blessed. And so he came up with a plan. His plan was to take his son out into the country, not in the city, out into the country, and go live on a farm for a couple of days. And so he knew a guy that was a very poor farmer, very not financially well off, and he thought it'd be perfect. We're going to go out there, we're going to stay with him, and he's going to see the difference. He's going to see the difference. And so he takes his son, and they go out on the farm, and when it's all done, he goes home and with his dad, and they have a conversation, and the conversation goes something like this. Hey, son, how was the trip? He goes, Dad, it was awesome. It was great. And then he said, did you see how poor people can be? He said, I sure did. So tell me, what did you learn? What did you learn from the trip? This is what his son said. I saw that we have one dog, but they have four. We have a pool that reaches to the middle of our garden. They have a creek that has no end. We have imported lanterns in our garden. They have stars at night. Our patio reaches to the front yard, and they have the whole horizon to appreciate. We have a small piece of land to live on. They have fields that go on beyond sight. We buy our food. They grow their food. We have walls around our property to protect us. They have friends to protect them. And then his dad's like looking at him going, what? And his son said to his dad, Dad, seriously, thank you for helping me to understand how poor we are. It's perspective, folks. It's all perspective. We have more stuff. Our common, ordinary life is the way kings used to aspire to live. It's not enough. It's a decision. Enough's enough. Now, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pray And I'm going to close this message with prayer. And then on all of our campuses, the campus pastor is going to come out and share some incredibly important perspective with each of our different congregations. So let me pray, and then your campus pastor will step up, as will happen here. So God, thank you. Help us to learn the message of this. Help us to learn that contentment is the secret to joy. As long as we are longing for something we don't have, we're going to be miserable. But we have so much to be grateful for. And if we would concentrate on what we have and not what we don't have, our joy would just exponentially explode. Father, you are the source of all good things. Lord, I pray that you help each and every one of us to understand that you have resources beyond measure. And if we would just simply do with your stuff what you gave it to us to do it with, that more and more and more would pass through our hands, because we will have been proven we can appropriately apply the blessings of our lives. So help us to learn this. Help us to live out that secret of gratitude and contentment. I pray for this in us. In Jesus' name, amen. Bless you guys.